In this video, I'll give you a dead simple 3-part framework to generate 100 viral content ideas in under 15 minutes. This is from a talk I gave to a room of entrepreneurs doing anywhere from $10, $20, $50, $100,000 a month. They found it really valuable, so I wanted to share it with you all. So grab a pen, grab a notebook, get ready to take notes, and get ready to be overwhelmed with ideas to write about. So let's start. The goal of this keynote. So when Andre asked me to come up and talk, I basically had two options. And I went with this one, give you a dead simple system, generate 100 organic content ideas in 15 minutes. So instead of coming up here and saying, be authentic, share your story, I figured let's make this actionable, something you'll actually put into use. So let's get right into it. Just quick question so I know. Who here is already creating organic content? What's the breakdown? It could be Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok, YouTube, maybe OnlyFans, a few of y'all. All right, good. So like 50-50, hopefully by the end of this, that's everyone. You'll be organic content machines. All right, quick 30 seconds on why you should listen to me on organic. July 2018, I started working at BlackRock after graduating college. Immediately began plotting my escape because the 40-year-old I sat next to asked for permission to go to his son's Little League game. His boss said no. I saw that happen, and I knew my time as a corporate worker was limited. Immediately got on Twitter in July 2018, started learning, finally made an account in July 2020 to start posting. Built up a small audience, posting every single day. That let me start Ship 30, which, as Andre was saying, is a cohort-based writing course. Helps people start writing online. And then I built that on the side, working remotely at BlackRock for that entire year of 2021, mostly pretending to work. Most finance work is pretty made up, especially when you're remote. So was able to scale that until March of this year. I left BlackRock, finally able to, or it didn't make sense for me to work for someone else for much longer. Gave Ship 30 my full attention, which brings us to today. Sitting at 280K on Twitter. We do about 300K a month between Ship 30 and TypeShare at 90% margin, 100% organic. So wow. I'm pretty naive. Huge. There you go. So I'm naive on quite a few things on business, which is why I'm here to learn from y'all, but I can help you on the organic side. So let's get right into it. Like I said, how to make this a useful keynote, actually do the exercise. We're gonna go through 3 steps. You're gonna be able to actually generate ideas that you can go and create right after this. Okay, let's start with the single goal of your organic content. Daniel, you put this perfectly right at the very initial keynote. All it is to get people to trust you. That's it. When you have something to sell, people are going to come to your profile right away and say, is this a real person, right? Do they have something useful to put out there? How do we get people to trust us? This is a great quote from Hormozi. Consistently provide valuable free shit that is better than other people's paid shit. If you take that to heart, you'll win the organic content game. But that's where most people go wrong. Because right away they go, but wait, if I give away all my free stuff, no one is going to buy my paid stuff. And that holds them back because it's like, oh, I got all this good stuff behind a paywall, but then they put out, non-valuable free shit, shitty free shit, if you will, and no one ends up buying it. So that's the first belief to break if you're going to win the organic content game. It's realizing people do not pay for information. They pay for accountability, implementation, packaging, speed, and outcomes. So if you're sitting on valuable paid shit, start giving it away for free. Because what that's going to do is immediately generate trust with people who will eventually buy from you. So how do we get people to trust us? We need ideas. And this is the system I use to generate my content ideas. It's the system we teach in Ship 30. Usually takes us an hour, so I'm going to run through it very quickly, but you should be able to kind of keep up. It's got 3 parts. First, the 2-year test. We're going to find topics to write about. You're going to ask yourself a bunch of questions of all the things you've done over the last 2 years, and then you're going to get specific where you're the only person on earth who's qualified to talk about those topics. Good. Then you're going to find your scroll stopper. That's a 1-sentence line of credibility that you're going to reuse hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times to generate a ton of content ideas based on that. Then you're going to run your scroll stopper through the 4A framework, which are all these proven paths and approaches to generate organic content. Once you have this system, you'll never run out of ideas. It'll be much harder to actually not create content than to create content because of how many things you have up. And I know people are taking pictures. I'll distribute all these slides after. So you can make sure you can, this will all make more sense at the end too. There's a lot on one slide, but this slide, if you have, you can create 100 ideas in 15 minutes or less. All right, y'all ready? All right, let's do it. Part one, the topic. Let's figure out what you're going to create content about. So what topic you're going to write about, create videos, whatever it is, or what specifically. The key here is specificity is a secret, and I'm going to show you all how to get specific. But the very first thing is the 2-year test. So the goal of the 2-year test is to find all of the ideas that are now extremely obvious to you, but are incredibly valuable to others. And the reason it's 2 years is because all the things you have done in the last 2 years are now extremely obvious to you, but would have been incredibly valuable to have 2 years ago. So you're going to brainstorm skills you've built, struggles you've faced, hobbies you've picked up, problems you've overcome, life transitions, stories, all of those. That is all the raw material that you create organic content about. And the way to think about it is, what are all the things you know now that you do anything to have known 2 years ago? That is all the raw material. So you start with that, you do the 2-year test, and then once you figure out those ideas, then you're just going to start repeating them. So throughout this, I'm going to use some examples from the start of the show, Cold Email Wizard. So if you were doing this, Daniel, you go, okay, I moved to Miami, then moved back to Tampa, learned cold email, grew to 100K on Twitter, started a YouTube channel, right? Started a group coaching business, scaled an info product to $1 million a year. These are all things you could write about. Potentially my favorite, though, most importantly, scaled and optimized a high-converting hinge funnel. I think if you made a YouTube video on that or gave a keynote on it, I think we'd all be taking a lot of notes. So just some content ideas for you. So this would be Daniel's, right? He's got a bunch of broad topics he could write about, and that's number one. So everyone sitting here has a ton of unique experiences that they could generate ideas about, and that's what you start with. So part two, adding specificity. This is the most important part and where most people go wrong. So what you have to do from here is generate 3 to 4 broad topics like we talked about, but now you're going to add specificity until you are the only person on earth qualified to talk about that thing. How do you do that? Well, this is where most people go wrong. So I'm going to use Daniel's example of scaling an info product to $1 million a year. There's a big, as you know, we're inundated with this, but that's a broad topic, right? No specificity, tons of competition, plenty of people have done this. So if you just came out and said, hey, I did this, there's going to be a lot of competition. So what you have to do is get specific. How do you do that? 7 specificity levers. Price, problem, industry, location, situation, experience, and demographic. You dial those up and down until you are the only person on earth who's done this. So some examples. 7 ways to niche down. I'm going to take the same $1 million a year product idea or product scaling and run it through each of them. And what you'll see here is each of these, how the content changes based on that one little differentiator. Right? One word completely changes the type of content you would create based on it. So niche down by price. A $299 product versus $4,000. Much different. The tactics, everything you would share would be much different. The type of person you would attract would be much different. By problem, so a cold email product or an organic content product, way different. And this is also, if you're creating a business yourself, you can think about doing these things. You can apply this 7 ways to niche down where you specify your offer so it differentiate yourself. Industry, so B2B SaaS, small group fitness. Location, LA film agency or New York City restaurant, right? Situation, for personal trainers or recently laid off employees. Experience, beginner versus a 10-year veteran cold email product. Again, much, much different. And then lastly, demographic, so for Gen Z entrepreneurs or for up-and-coming money Twitter hustlers, which is exactly what Daniel did again. So you can dial all these up and down until you take your broad topics and you get extremely specific with them. So back to Daniel's example, scaling an info product to $1 million a year, not very specific. Scaling a beginner cold email video info product for up-and-coming money Twitter hustlers on Gumroad to $1 million a year using only organic content in just 12 months, right? You're the only person on earth who has done that, which means every single thing you have to say about that will be 100% unique. No one will compare you to anyone, and you're going to actually generate the true fans where, like you said, people buy from you, they don't buy the thing. That makes sense so far? You guys with me?
Yep.
Cool. All right, so by now you should have 3 to 5 kind of topics, right? Things that are brewing in your head a little bit. All right, deep breath. I know that was a lot. That's part 1. Part 1, now you have ideas to write about. What do we do from here? Now you need to find your scroll stopper. This one's simple. You need a 1-sentence line of credibility for why people should trust you that you're going to reuse time and time and time and time again. And everything you have to say after that is going to be, okay, I trust you. You can go in 100 different directions. If you need a template for this, extremely easy. But once you have one, you can reuse it. So over the last X time period, I achieved X outcome without common obstacle to achieving X outcome.
every person in this room can make up a scroll stopper based on their topic with that exact line, right? And right away, once you have that, everything you create after is going to resonate with that reader who says, oh, I'm interested in that, or I can trust you on that, now I'll listen to what you have to say. So again, for Daniel, I actually went and wrote these tweets. I made a cold email whiz account. I'm surprised it wasn't taken. So over the last 12 months, I scaled my cold email info product to $1 million per year without spending a cent on paid ads, 100% organic. You could see that if that was the intro to any Twitter thread, what he could put after that would be valuable, right? People are going to listen because they're going to go, oh shit. Like you could write almost anything after that. Same with this. I built a group coaching biz from 0 to 300K in 3 months without taking my margins below 75%. Enter just about anything. I started 3 SaaS companies, scaled them to 50K a month in 6 months without a single full-time employee. Right? You have these lines, and then you can drop anything underneath, and people are going to read it. And then my personal favorite, my Hinge profile brings me 25 qualified leads per day with a 50% close rate, and my clients are submitting raving testimonials. Right? True? I think that close rate's a little low. I almost bumped it up. I almost bumped it to 90, but I was like, okay, let's be realistic. All right, so with that, right, you can say just about anything on that topic, and people are going to read it. So that's your scroll stopper. Scroll stopper makes sense. So we got topic, we got scroll stopper. Part 3, we're flying through this. The 4A framework. So now you're going to take that scroll stopper and squeeze as much juice out of it as you possibly can. How do you do that? The 4A framework. The 4A framework says there's only 4 types of content. Actionable content, analytical content. So actionable is here's how. Analytical is here's a breakdown. Aspirational is yes, you can, like sharing your story. And anthropological is human nature, the why. And so all of these are, every piece of content falls into one of these 4 buckets. An example to drive this home. Anyone here read personal finance books? Right? This is money Twitter. We all do, right? Can you name a couple? What a couple that come to mind? Rich Dad, Poor Dad. You said one? Right. Okay, so what's cool about personal finance, it's a big, broad topic. But within that, once you see the 4A buckets, you're never going to look at content the same again. Because we have Ramit Sethi, who's built an entire career around actionable content. His book is I Will Teach You to Be Rich. If you've read that, it's literally got scripts to negotiate with your cable company or your airline, like straight up actionable content. Then you have Ray Dalio, right? I studied 1,000 economies for thousands of years, and I put it all together into this breakdown for you. So this is extremely analytical. Then you have aspirational, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Right? If you came from a poor money background, then here's how to get over it. Here's my story. You read that and you resonate with it, or you don't. And then lastly, psychology of money, anthropological, totally human nature, right? The why. So here's one big broad topic, money, with 4 examples. And so as you take your scroll stopper, you can dig and go up and down all of these and say, do I want to share actionable, analytical, aspirational, or anthropological? So some examples. Actionable content, this is how-to. Anything like tips, tools, hacks, advice, resources, frameworks, ultimate guides. Take it, let the reader go from point A to point B, and you're going to show them how to get there. Some examples. And so how I'm going to show you with this is taking your scroll stopper, your single line of credibility, and combining it with the 4A framework. Because once you have it, you can reuse it in infinite number of ways, right? So here's Daniel. Over the last 12 months, scaled my cold email to $1 million per year without a cent on paid ads. Here are 6 software tools that made it easy. Or here are 3 tips if you're stuck at 10K a month. Or here are 3 resources to help you do the same. Or here's the 4-step system you can follow to scale your info product, right? Any single thing actionable he could follow up his scroll stopper with, just like that. And you can do that time and time and time again, especially when you find one that works, which this one would work very well. I mean, it's YouTube videos, it's LinkedIn, it's everything. You use it just like that. All right, so that's actionable. Then there's analytical. These are breakdowns. Think of examples, things of doing research, anything you do, save the reader a lot of time and say, hey, I looked at 1,000 different landing pages. Here's what's working. Trends, numbers, reasons, swipe files, examples, help your readers see a new way of thinking, or watcher. This is usually written content, but it can be anything. So some more examples. I started 3 SaaS companies, scaled them to 50K a month in 6 months. Here's a slide-by-slide teardown of the funnel. Or here's a breakdown of each landing page and why they convert. Or here's the exact numbers we do each month and where we're going from here. Or here's what I think B2B SaaS is heading in the future. Right? So these are analytical, looking at trends of where things are going, or breakdowns of why things are working. Third, anthropological. We're flying here. These are anything to do with human nature. So it digs a level deeper. It's a why, it's a psychology. So fears, failures, struggles, paradoxes, comparisons, red pills, right? Why others are wrong, why you've been misled. Anything to do with the human nature that says, okay, maybe here's how to do something, but let's dig a level deeper and look at here's why. So even more examples. I built a group coaching biz from 0 to 300K in 6 months. Here are 4 brutal mistakes that almost cost me everything. Or here are 3 beliefs I had to break to get there. Here's why everyone else struggles to keep their margins high. Or here are 3 observations that surprised me, right? This is all human nature, the psychology of it. And I think this is one of the most interesting content buckets you can have because everyone has a unique understanding of why things are working for them. If you can help a reader or viewer understand that, you're going to really develop a deep relationship. Lastly, of the 4 A's, aspirational. So this is anything sharing your story. Every single person here can share their story. That's the easiest one to do. Whatever your 2-year test was for the journey you took over the last 2 years, you can share that. So these are stories, lessons, mistakes, reflections, underrated traits, advice to your past self. My favorite here, if you were sharing how you've scaled and optimized your Hinge profile, right? Here's what my clients have to say. So you're sharing testimonials. I'd like to read that one. Here's how you can create a funnel like this too. Here's my story, or here's what I had to change to make this happen. So this is all just sharing your story, getting someone to resonate. All right, that was the entire Endless Idea Generator. That was a lot. We usually take about an hour for that, so let's do a quick recap. The goal of this keynote, I said, give you a system to generate 100 ideas. I hope the ideas are flowing, that you can go and put this into practice right away. Hopefully you were doing it while we were going. Single goal of your organic content, get people to trust you. That's it. How do you get people to trust you? Consistently provide valuable free shit that is better than everyone else's paid shit. If you do that, you will win the organic content game, full stop. Started with the topic. What are you going to write about? How are you going to be specific with it? We did the 2-year test. Look back on your last 2 years. Every person in this room has unique things they can talk about over the last 2 years that they've learned. You just have to get comfortable sharing those things. 7 ways to niche down. I love this slide. I think this slide applies far more to than just content, but business as well. Then you created your scroll stopper. Use this template. Over the last X time period, I achieved X outcome without common obstacle. You have that. You have infinite number of organic content ideas. Then you looked at the 4A paths. Hopefully you start to look at content in a new way, which is every single thing you read or come across is one of these buckets. What's the type of content that you resonate with? What's the type of content that your reader's resonating with? And then I showed you this example to drive it home with 4 different 4A buckets. And there it is all on one slide again. So if you download that slide, take it home, print it out, do this exercise. If you take 15 minutes, it's going to be very hard not to create organic content from there. So, boom.
Boom. I hope you found that framework helpful. For more writing frameworks like that, you can go to startwritingonline.com and download our free 13,000 word ultimate guide that has everything you need to start writing online and building an audience consistently. That's it for this video. You can check out my most recent video right here. Leave a comment if you have any big takeaways or questions, and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos. See you at the next one.